Okay, so today I want to talk about Deming's book, The New Economics. Huge book, very impactful for industry, government, education, anybody that's interested in the management of and change for good of an institution or an organization is going to want to read this book. There's a lot of books on culture, organizational change, so the psychology of organizations and management. Deming goes into something that looks at more comprehensively some of the concepts behind what makes management of an organization effective, and talks about a couple of concepts that really dig in deep into things that, honestly, even though this book is decades old, they're problems that we're still facing. And for an educator looking to help schools improve the systems that we have in place, this book's really important. Uh, there's only 11 chapters. The 11th chapter is new. I'm not going to talk about that one. For each chapter, I have a particular set of notes that I want to go over. So, for sake of time, I'm going to jump right in. The preface. The preface at the end of it has a particular statement I think really addresses the point of the book here, which is that the purpose of a school of business should not be to perpetuate the present style of management, but to transform it. And I really think that gets to the feeling underneath the concepts of this book. To think that the way we ran business 100 years ago is the best way to run business doesn't account for the changes that are taking place in the world around those businesses. So we're seeing that now, particularly in 2020, with the coronavirus happening and everybody needing to adapt to a new way of doing business, especially in education. So let's dig into chapter 1 here, where the note I make here about chapter 1 is the idea is to ask the question, why do we, or should we, focus on improving workers or teachers of a business or school whose managers are poorly managing? Now, I'm not saying everybody is poorly managing. I'm saying that the instruments for improving a system that are so focused on setting rewards, setting rankings, setting any sort of motivational, extrinsically motivated tactics to make the people within the system improve, instead of addressing the system itself, is faulty. It's definitely an underlying concept in the book. They say focus on the top. The guy says focus on the top, and he goes in on at the end of the chapter to look at this idea of why does a plant or a business close? And the answer, it was turning out a product that had lost its market. That concept of management is to know the market and adjust the system of its organization. And right now, a lot of people still think that in order to improve the system of its organization is to improve each of the components. And in education, we are seeing a lot of pay-related motivational tactics, merit pay type things. And merit pay is an idea that has been around for a while. Deming says, get rid of it. Chapter 2 is all about abolishing ranking, and that includes merit pay. Superficial goals focused on individuals do not improve the goals of the system in place. It's huge. It's huge. I mean, promising grades does not improve learning. Promising grades to students might improve the amount of work, but not the quality. Assigning merit pay to teachers doesn't improve the instruction, it just causes the instruction to happen as a new minimum, right? So that quantity over quality issue is definitely something being addressed in the concepts underlying in this book. Chapter 3, he talks about what is a system. A system must have an aim. And so addressing when systems fail, when components of the system seek to improve or gain beyond the aim of their system. That means when individuals within an organization seek to improve themselves beyond the benefit of the organization they're trying to help, it doesn't help. So it's a difficult balance, and in order for management to understand it and apply these concepts, he creates what he calls a system of profound knowledge. 4 aspects that are not exclusive. One of the 4 does not work without the other 3. Those 4 aspects are appreciation of a system, making sure that the components of the system are appreciated, that they're interdependent, that there's an obligation within each component to rely on each other. Another part is psychology, understanding the interactions between the components of a system. The idea that submission to extrinsic motivation undermines the aim of a system. The third component, knowledge of variation, recognizing that there's only above and below average within any organization, recognizing the average is not a line but a range, and recognizing that variability is that range and being able to manage according to how wide that range of variability needs to be. So that's the third component. And then fourth is the theory of knowledge, where management is predictability and revision, being able to predict what's going to happen and adapt. So those 4 aspects make up the system of profound knowledge, and Chapter 4 digs in to each of those components. Chapter 5 is all about leadership, transformation through, first, theory, knowing the why of others in order to come up with an idea as to why things work, how things can work better. But then obligation, understanding your obligation within that system in context of the aim of the system, then creating a plan that's simple enough that people can follow, and finally, what he calls persuasive power. Having a tone, having a message that takes the theory, the obligation, and your plan and allows you to communicate it in a way where people will want to follow through with that change. Chapter 6 looks at managing via cooperation, not competition. And Chapter 7 finally gets into something really, really popular called the red beads. And you can check this out on YouTube. I highly recommend you look up the red bead experiment by Deming. It's on YouTube. He actually runs this experiment. Huge organization comes in for Deming to run this experiment for them as a presentation of the concepts. And what is learned through that experiment, when I first saw it, and I know I made a note to say this, is a lot of times you might think, well, that only applies because you set boundaries specific to that organization in your example, in your experiment. It can't be scaled out, or my organization is different. The way I did it is different. The experiment is designed to incorporate that theory of a system of profound knowledge. And it's scalable. It's adaptable to things like not just industry, but government, as well as education. So definitely check out the Red Beads experiment. How you are motivating your teachers and how teachers are motivating their students is built on a system that's 100 years old. And what Deming is saying is that system that we're relying on out of tradition, it can be improved. But you're going to have to understand the system in order to adapt that system from within. Chapter 8 is huge. I had to create a whole new, larger little pad here because it dives into the problem of variation. And that's one of the aspects of the system of profound knowledge where the problem of variation is some people might see a common cause of variation within an organization where, let's say an organization keeps having fires, a certain number of fires just sort of occur in this industry every year, right? Well, if this happened so frequently that it's common, then you can account for it and you can manage it, right? But those things that only happen, that are anomalies, that only happen once a year, those are things that you can address individually and account for, plan for it so that it never happens again, and the way you address those things are completely separate. So making sure you understand where that line is, where what is common and what is special is very clear, those are difficult conversations to have. So in schools, things like absenteeism, transit, accidents, are they common? Are they special? It depends. Every school is going to be different, so management is going to be different. That's I passed my 10-minute mark, so I'm just going to say, this book, Deming, I tried to talk as fast as I can. The New Economics. This is not a new book. It's been around for decades, and I definitely highly recommend you go out and you read it. You go download the PDF, go order the book on whatever site you need to order it on. But definitely check out this book. I think you're really going to get a lot out of it, and you're going to be able to apply these concepts to systems as simple as classrooms, schools, as districts, and larger than that. So check it out. Thanks for watching.